This week marks the start of public lake samplings for the state. The test will happen weekly. The Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy is sampling for a toxin called microcystin, which is produced by harmful blue-green algae blooms and E. coli bacteria. From now until September, samples will be collected at 50 public recreational lakes. Samples are typically collected on Mondays and posted online for viewing by the following Friday.